Okay, I will call to order the Rolesville Board of Commissioners regular meeting. This is January the 7th, 2025. Thanks everybody for coming. Looks like it's cold outside, so it's better inside here today, but thanks everybody for getting out in the cold and being with us tonight. And thanks everybody that's watching online also. So we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Commissioner Linwood Long will lead us in invocation. So if you would, everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Thanks.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me pray. Most Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this new year, an opportunity with new grace, another opportunity to give you honor and praise. But most importantly, God, we thank you for these people who have gathered here together today to make decisions for the people of Rolesville. Give us wisdom, give us guidance, and Father God, continue to show us the things that will make the city the most improved and best city in the world to live in. We thank you for this and so much more. In Jesus Christ's name we do pray. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Long. Appreciate that. Before we start, I just want to say, one of our past presidents, James Earl Carter Jr., passed away, I think, on December. I believe it was December the 29th. He was known as Jimmy Carter. I think he took president. He was sworn in the year that I graduated from high school, or either the year after that. So it's been a long time ago. But I think he served from 1977 to 1981. But he is resting. I watched a little bit online today. He is resting. They brought him into the Capitol building today, and so he's in Washington, D.C. As we speak. So and that's what you see a lot of the flags in the country here flying half-mast. But I just want us tonight, let's just take a moment of silence and remember past President Jimmy Carter. So just a brief moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, thanks everybody, appreciate that. First item we have is approval of the agenda, and I will entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion second, any other discussion? Not hearing any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And then next item we're going to have is public comment. We did move this up. This is the first meeting of the new year, so we did move that up. We're going to take that pretty early in the meeting. So if anybody signed up for public comment, this is the time. I think somebody must have. Okay, I think it's Betty. So where's Betty? Come on up, Betty, and state your name, address. We know where you live, but for the record, if you don't mind doing that. Hope you're doing well tonight.
Yep. Name's Betty Freeman, 524 Everett Road, Rolesville, 27571. My comments tonight are about the police department. Last summer, June the 14th, I had an accident. When the officer, after 25, 30 minutes, they finally got there. And when he got out of the car, I handed him my driver's license and my proof of insurance, which is worthless. Proof of insurance is proof of insurance the moment they mail that. Otherwise, it is no good. It only means that you have had insurance with them. And at the moment they mail it, you have it, but otherwise it's not. The other thing is, when I handed in my driver's license and I introduced myself properly, and he said, "Oh, I know who you are. You go to all the town meetings. I see you on TV on the regular basis," which is a very prejudicial type statement. And then when he wrote the accident up, he wrote it up as happening 60 feet from where it actually happened. But I'll be paying for that for the next 3 years, because I got blamed for the accident. and I was not at fault. And, let's see, what other things have I noticed with the police department? Oh, at the, in the Food Line parking lot, I parked in the handicap parking lot space, which I'm entitled to, headed north, in front of the Oriental Restaurant. And a lady pulls up and parks in the driving space, not a parking place, parks between me and the Oriental Restaurant, and goes in Food Line and goes shopping. She's gone for almost 45 minutes. Your officers came because I called the police. And when they got there, they just sat there and watched her come back, get in her car, and drive off. I mean, if you're not going to enforce the law, you don't need police. That's their job. That's it.
Thank you, Bea. Appreciate that input. And we got that on record, so we'll follow up and see if there's anything to follow up on that, so thanks. Next, George Garcia. How you doing?
Doing pretty well.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're having a happy new year.
Yeah, thank you. And state your name for the record. I think everybody knows where you live too, but thank you for coming.
524 Everett Road. On the 21st of November, I had an accident going from Chalk Road, cutting across to the Baptist Church cemetery. Hit there. Evidently, the police thought that I was responsible when there was no one coming at the time. I was going real slow because it was a large truck. I got hit. But more importantly, the individual who was driving claimed that she had insurance. She claimed Inagon Indemnity was her insurance in the accident report. And come to find out that Inagon writes me a letter saying that this individual had a lapse policy at the time. He was driving without insurance on her vehicle. And I thought that that's against the law here in North Carolina, to my understanding. So the accident happened. Had she been following the law, she wouldn't have been driving, and there wouldn't have been an accident. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Okay. And I have all the documentation for it, but in the accident report, the reporting officer did not check to see if she had insurance or not at the time. Okay. In the meantime, I get charged and it's going to go against me. This person knew she didn't have any insurance. She had the whole family there. She called on the phone, had the whole family there within 5 minutes. Number two, she called for the emergency services to take her to the hospital. Number three, Friday morning, without the accident report being even filed yet, she was already filing with my company. That's the reason why I went ahead and went to Inagon and filed myself, and this is the reason why I found out that she didn't have any insurance. Okay? It's an ongoing thing. Hopefully a child is not going to get run over by an uninsured. There's plenty of children on Everett Road and Granite and all around. Okay?
Thank you, George. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'll take the
I appreciate
comments.
it.
We'll take the comments and, if there's any follow-up, we'll let you know. So thanks. Appreciate that. All right. I think that gets us through the public comments unless someone else has something. Our next item is the consent agenda. First thing on there is the minutes from the December 3rd, 2024 regular meeting. You guys reviewed that. There's an item called ABC Commission Designation Resolution. You guys saw and reviewed that. It's just a formality. I don't think it's much difference than what we've been doing, except that we have to designate someone to do it. And as you saw in the write-up, it was the chief of police and backup captain. But I think they've been doing it anyway, but We just have to have a resolution from the board, I think. So that's what that is. I think the item C, the comprehensive plan steering committee members, April, I think we're going to delay that, pull that. All right, so C will not be in there. And then the Wake County Transit Plan, you guys reviewed, an update on that. If you want to pull that and talk about it, we can. So with that, you got the option to pull any item and vote on separately, or we will vote on all three of those items together. So I will entertain a consideration for those items.
Move to approve the consent agenda with the removal of 5 Charlie.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any. Thank you, appreciate that. Board reports. We're going to take the board reports from everybody like we've been doing. I'll call on everybody if you have one. You can do it. I think. Well, I'll just go ahead and mention now. You can talk about it a little bit more in your clerk thing if you want to. But we're kind of looking at maybe doing these every 2 months. So a group of you do it 1 month, and then the next month the other group of you do it. Just for time wise, and sometimes you don't have a lot to report on in 1 month. So we're going to go to probably bi-monthly to report every other month. So with that, Veterans Commissioner Austin, you have anything to report?
Yes, sir. Happy New Year, everyone. On December 19th, 2024, the American Legion, Raleigh Post 1, and its members came together for a momentous flag-raising ceremony marking the inaugural raising of the American flag at their new post. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation as onlookers celebrated this significant milestone in their post history. Retired Master Sergeant Jerry Mantnum was in attendance. On December 21st, from 1100 hours to 12:30, the Wake County Chapter 1 DAV Outreach sponsored a Christmas food giveaway. They gave away turkey and ham sponsored by Food Line. The chapter is hosting their casino night fundraiser at the Elks Lodge, located at 5538 Lead Mine Road, Raleigh, North Carolina, on January 11th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. The attire is semi-formal or formal. They say you can choose. It's a night of fun, fellowship, and amazing silent auction items. The Joel Fund would like to remind veterans to go to their website to register for your desired classes that you would like to take, which are ceramics, creative writing, mixed media, photography, wood carving, and fiber arts only for the women veterans. The next Veterans Coffee Connections will be held on January 22nd at 8:30 a.m. And their address is still at the Wake Forest location, 822 South White Street. The Department of Veteran Affairs Experience Veteran Resources Community Network is launching the 100,000 Community Catalyst Challenge this month. This is a bold initiative designed to identify trailblazing organizations and revolutionize how we can engage with veterans, their families, their caregivers, as well as survivors. I pass this information on to the Joel Fund. And then on January 3rd, the Department of Veteran Affairs announced it has updates awarding the GI Bill benefits to veterans. This changed everything because it used to be 36 months of benefits. Now it increased to 48 months with your proof that you have re-enlisted. Coffee with a Veteran, sponsored by Veterans Helping Veterans, which is Master Sergeant Jerry Mantnum, meets the third Saturday of each month at Arise Co-working Community Center. The date for this month is January 17th. And it is open to veterans, veteran spouses, and caregivers, as well as active duty military personnel. And he is hosting the Veterans Fellowship Breakfast on the last Wednesday of the month at 0900 hours, located at Nightdale IHOP. And that will complete my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate that. Appreciate all the work, is happening with the veterans. I know they're very important to us. And, they've been in the news the last few weeks with some struggles, and I know Brooke, with her work, the Joel Fund, has talked about a lot of that, and I think I've learned a lot from her and talking to her about, the struggles, that they have when they come back from what they see and do and all that kind of stuff, and just keep them in our prayers, and also appreciate your work and others in the community, that's working, really hard to do that, so thanks, appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
I think the next one is Linwood, I believe. I lost my place
Yes,
here.
that is
but,
correct, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Long, you have a report for the public safety side of it?
I do. It's a very brief report, Mr. Mayor. First, Happy New Year to all of my peers and those of you who are hearing me now. On behalf of the PD, we were able to have an administrative specialist position closed. We received 125 applications, and we have interviews that will start being scheduled for Friday, January 10th. Looking forward to getting that position closed and filled. We also have a criminal justice intern from East Carolina starting with us on January 13th. We are very serious about helping our young adults make the right decisions around criminal justice, and we feel like we have a great training ground for that. And as far as the fire department, they have just wrapped up their budgets with Wake County, so as you know, we are moving very much closer to the unification. There will be a dinner this Saturday at 6 p.m. Town clerk, manager, and all of the Rolesville board members are invited, so please make sure you do RSVP. And then just to let you know, there have been continuation of unification discussions, and we are set to transition to the town around July the 1st. And that is about it from the fire department.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Commissioner Long. And as you know, it's been a lot in the news about public safety in the last few days too, especially from that New Orleans thing. And I talked to the town manager a little bit about it, but I kind of want you to be involved in it too, Linwood, is just have a brief discussion on our public safety for events and stuff. And it's basically see if we need to order anything, if we need more equipment or we need anything to keep our citizens safe for parades or any kind of public, events. If we need something, we need to get it. And that's kind of what I want to focus on, Linwood, is making sure that that we don't have to bring an expert in to help us one day on deciding what we need to keep people safe, that we'll do that.
Understood. And thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, next is Commissioner Paul on senior citizens.
Thank you. Happy New Year, Mr. Mayor, fellow commissioners, Town of Rolesville. Hope 2025 will be a good year for everybody. The Senior Advisory Committee met on December 17th, and we'll meet again next week. We have a guest speaker who will be presenting a proposal for a senior center, but there's much more to it than that. I will report on this proposal in our next meeting next month. I understand that the committee is tasked with selecting a winner from the 7 proposals for the land behind our town hall, has narrowed the field to 4 proposals, and we hope to hear more in the coming weeks. Finally, the month of January is loaded with events for our senior community. Many of these events are listed on the senior community page in the town website and the Senior Network website, which is theseniornetwork.org. I want to thank Candace Scarberry for her hard work keeping the senior webpage on the town website up to date. Also want to thank our June Green, head of our Parks and Rec, for all he and his department do for our senior community. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, appreciate that. Commissioner Sneed, Planning Board, anything to report?
Just a little bit today. So we did not have a meeting in December, but I did have the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee pulled from the agenda, and I would like to give Meredith just a few minutes, if we could, at some point to speak about that committee, because we did have a great applicant pool, and 9 people had applied, and the staff chose the 5 people for that position. So I would like for her just to take a few minutes to speak about that. And we also have coming up at our January 27th planning meeting, we have quite a few LDO updates that are going to be coming before the board for us to review on things such as the residential dimensional standards, infill development within the Main Street corridor, allowance of governmental facilities in all zoning districts, signing within the Main Street corridor, that's proposed by the RDDA Appearance Committee, and also things like the performance standards and perimeter buffers. So the planning board and the planning department is working really hard on the LDO and making sure that we see any updates come before us. And we will also have regular comprehensive plan updates as the project moves forward. And they will begin giving us updates, and at times they'll be also asking us for our feedback on what we're hearing from them. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you. Last, Commissioner Bilgo, Parks and Recreation, anything you want to report?
Yeah, real quick, I had a meeting on 12/18, discussed things that have happened. Appreciation luncheon for staff was held. Millbridge bids were opened. There were 5 bids that they got for the updates needed there. The farm entrance is almost complete. And shred event is coming up on January 26th. Holiday ham giveaway was held, and the last thing I have is potential names for the farmer discussed at our last meeting. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on. We're doing communications from the town staff now. We'll start with Parks and Recreation. I imagine that's you, June, or you got a report for us? Come on up.
Good morning, Mayor. I mean, good morning. Yeah, you know what I mean? I've been here too long, right?
You must took a nap earlier.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, and everyone else with the staff. Come today to talk to you about Parks and Recreation, the department itself. The staff attended the North Carolina Recreation and Park Association State Conference, and that was held in Greensboro on the December the 2nd through the 4th. It was in Greensboro. The staff went up, and that's where they kind of get to network with other communities and municipalities to figure out how they are doing things in reference to either could be a big community or a small community, to figure out how those things can help the town of Rolesville. And so far, the staff it's the second time what the staff has been, and every time they come back with new ideas and stuff that they are wanting to implement here in Rolesville. So that's been very beneficial. A lot of the things that they have learned and discussed, that was to be things that we'll be seeing in 2025 and really in 2026 as we move forward, as we plan it. So for the staff to continue to go to these conferences and network and talk to people, that is some of the best experience and ideas that we get for the department. So we did that. Now we're going to talk about athletics. Our fall sports, we had 270 participants in soccer. We had 228 baseball, softball, and t-ball, and we had 109 in flag football for fall. In the winter sport, which is our basketball, right now we have 327 youth who are participating in our basketball program. We have 4 teams in 6U, 8 teams in 8U, 8 teams in 10U. We got 6 teams in 12U. 12U girls, we have 2 teams. So those 2 teams will be going off and playing in Wendell and Zebulon so that they have somewhere to play. Our 14U boys, we only have 2 teams, as well as they'll be in Wendell and Zebulon playing. And our 17U boys, which only have 1 team, they will be playing in Wendell and Zebulon as well. As you see, as we get older, the numbers starting to dwell, and that's just through everybody's Parks and Rec. Because at that age, they start working, girlfriends, boyfriends, jobs, and all this other stuff, so they kind of dwindle. But we still wanted to provide them with the opportunity, even if it's just one team, to still have that part to play, because everybody do not make the school team. So we want to make sure we still do offer them the opportunity to play. Next, we'll talk about special events. In the last 3 months, we've had Fall Fun Fest on October the 26th. We had 4,500 participants we think came through. The numbers were down a little bit, we feel, and we think a lot of that had to do because Fall Fun Fest was the same weekend as the last weekend of the fair, of the state fair. So we feel that played a major part in it. So this year, we are moving Fall Fun Fest to November the 1st. Because the fair, we went and looked at it, the dates were gonna fall around the same time. So we decided to move it to November the 1st this year to try to see, we don't have to compete with the state fair. Veterans Day, that was on November the 11th, right here in the community center. That was a great event. We did something different this year. We was able to have a luncheon provided. It was all catered. We had about 50 participants to come through for that on for Veterans Day program. We had our first tree lighting, which I did see a bunch of the commissioners there, so I do want to thank y'all for braving the cold with us that night. It was a little bit nippy, but I want to thank y'all for coming out, as well as the town manager, you guys for coming out, and the police department for providing the security for us as well. We actually probably had about 650 people out there that night, which I think was great for the first time. And I think everybody really enjoyed the snow effect. So it was pretty fun. So we're looking forward to doing that again next year. We had our holiday food giveaway, which in the past we called it a holiday ham giveaway. And this year we didn't give away ham, so people were a little bit upset. So we can call it the holiday. Moving forward, it will be called the holiday food giveaway. So whatever food you get, you're still covered. So we actually served about 100 plus people who came through that day. We provided them with some form of meat and some sides to go along with that, sweet potatoes, cabbages, and so forth that we did provide. And that was all through, that was not an event directly through us. It was one that we are partnering with the organization here in town. We also do food prescription with the Northern Regional Center, where on the first and third Wednesday, what we call food prescription is what they do is they will bring over a box of food for families to come get. It has milk, eggs, meat, and other sides and vegetables. And this is a way that they are trying to see if these people may have diabetes, if eating something healthy will help that. So right now, and we're just acting as a hub for people to pick up here in Rolesville. Currently, right now, we only have like 4 people picking up here in Rolesville. They got like 12 picking up in Wake Forest. So it's just something that we are providing, something here for the residents here where they can come, who actually apply for the program and are using the program. As Commissioner Paul Villiger had said earlier about some events coming up, the Shred event will be at Redford Place on the 25th of January, and that'll be from 10 o'clock till like 1. So make sure you pass the word on that.
I love that event. Every year. I love that event.
Thank you. And we are actually partnering with that through Civic Credit Union is our sponsor for that event. So we will be bringing back Rec Day. That will be April the 5th. We will bring back Rec Day, but we will not have the long parade in the roads, but we will have the athletes parade onto the field. But we will not block the streets off and stuff like that because with the new housing development that's going back behind the ball fields, we don't have the parking space like you had in the past. So we're doing things a little bit different, but we are bringing it back. We're looking at having some food trucks, some games out there. Also doing that month is also National Autism Month. So us and PD, we will be celebrating National Autism Month this year, where we will be having a car out there where we will ask people if they want to make a donation to the National Autism of North Carolina. They have their own one. And what we'll do is paint the handprints, and we're going to let them put handprints, other colorful handprints, all over one of the patrol cars.
That's awesome.
And so we are going to do that. And then later on in that month, we're going to move the car over to our egg rush so that anybody hasn't done it with a QR code, they can still do it. And we're going to bring awareness to autism here in Rolesville. And also lean on with that, on April the 2nd is the National Autism Day, and we will be asking everyone to participate with us in wearing blue on that day. We will be making some videos on that day about everybody wearing blue, so we will be getting that out more and more as we get closer to that date. As far as our cultural programs that we have going on, Zumba, line dancing, yoga, youth dance classes, summer camp registration is getting ready to get started. We also got Spring break camp, this is something we're doing different this year. When spring break takes in, we'll have a camp for the whole week for spring break. Because in the past, we never had that, but we all know that parents got to go to work during spring break. So we will do a camp for that week. That's gonna be something new that we will be offering this year as well. As far as our seniors, of course, you know, every Wednesday from 10 to 11, we do some kind of senior program inside the community center. On the first and third, we do bingo. On the first Wednesday of the month at 11:15, 11:30, we have what we call, it's a funny name, I gotta remember, sometimes I keep forgetting it, Senior Stars, where we have the seniors come in and throw cornhole. It's a free event. We ask them just to come out, get them throwing cornhole boards, and hopefully we can get some of them to sign up for senior games. That's our plan, get them used to doing that, sign up for senior games. The seniors went on a trip to the casino back in December. They loved it. They loved it. They went to Danville, to Caesars. They've actually sent cars back to Tina, which she is great. Tina White, she's our cultural coordinator. She does a great job. That they sent her cards telling her thank you. It was so much fun for them to go and then and have the meal at Golden Corral on the way back. Everybody came back, so nobody hit actually real big. So everybody came back. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
What happens in Danville?
Exactly. They also she got some a chocolate factory tour that she's going to carry them on. She's going to bring in a Tai Chi to work with them on some chair exercises. As far as we go with our parks and greenways, the farm, as Commissioner Bigger stated before, the farm entrance is almost complete. They just got to do some dressing up stuff with the farm. The Parks and Recreation Advisory Board had, the department had asked for suggestions for park names, and we got probably almost 200 different names for the park. Some of them were duplicates. But with the pair, they came to a decision to make a recommendation, and they really came up with the name of Rolesville Farmstead Park. And they said just to pay homage to the farm that's been there, and they wanted to make sure that it was named Rolesville, was in the name of it, and so forth. So that was the recommendation that they came up with, Rolesville Farmstead Park. We had different other names that came through, and Commissioner Bill would tell you, it was pretty lengthy discussions on these names. But the board members, they all came together, and that's what they made a recommendation for.
Would that be coming to us at some
Yes,
point?
yes. That will be coming to you, everyone, you guys soon for the recommendation of the name for the park. And when I do that, I will have the sign made up so you can kind of see what it would look like when we do it. So that will be coming soon. The town will start in the next couple of months working on the next phase of the farm, as we still call it now. The farm, because we will be working on our phase 1B, which is the event center and playground and stuff like that. So once we kind of moving forward and getting that developed and try to decide on how big a building we're looking for. Excuse me. Next, we're going to talk about Millbridge Nature Park. We had the bid opening in December. We had a lowest bid from J.C. Lewis was the lowest bid. That would be on you guys' agenda for the work session on actually moving forward with awarding them that project. So that will be coming up soon with that as well. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Main Street Park renovation project. Right now, I'm working on the environmental review for that because we're dealing with any kind of state or federal funded project. You have to do an environmental review. Even though the job is not in moving no dirt or anything, I still have to go through the process and send it back to them and waiting back for that. So once that gets cleared, we can start scheduling out the different projects, the Wi-Fi, the shelter, the parking lot, and so forth as we move forward. But I just want to say, without Public Works and PD, a lot of our projects and programs would not get going or be successful as they are So I just want to say thank you. Thank you guys for all they do to help us out with that.
Good report. Any questions? Questions for the athletic director?
Just one, sir.
Yes,
Just one. At the state conference, are there any vendors or sponsors that attend those to where they could partner with towns to get things built in the Parks and Rec Department?
Well, there are several vendors there. There are several vendors there from anywhere from playground equipment to machineries, uniforms. I mean, you name it. Even you have several of your consulting firms are there. They're there. The state grant people are there. So we did a lot with those, with RRS, Recreation Resource Services out of NC State, and that's where the Party grant comes from, and all the other grants that we got, like the accessibility grant that we got from Millbridge.
Yes.
It all came from RRS, and then the whole Party group. So we do talk to them a lot. Well, I do anyway.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right?
Any other
Oh, I
questions?
have a question.
Yes.
Spring break camp,
Yes.
when will registration open for that, and how many students will you have?
That's going to be between 10 and 15.
Students?
Yes, that we will accept for that. It's,
Okay.
like I said, and I want to say Tina was planning on getting that out next week, because I know that's when we are putting out the summer camp registration also.
Okay. Oh, next week. Oh, that's good. Okay, 2 more questions. On the 17-year-old ball players that you have, how many do you have? How many is on the team?
Right around 8,
Okay, and how many seniors did y'all have go on that trip?
9.
All right, thank you.
You can't carry but so many in the van, can you? How many, what's the
Yes,
max?
That was the max. We had maybe 4 on the waiting list, and so
For what?
for
Seniors or the basketball team?
no seniors.
Okay,
4 seniors on the waiting list,
uh-huh,
but the van was full, and what I told Tina was if we got up to 6, I would actually I would kind of scrounge and find some more money. Find some more money to just go and actually rent another van, so that we could carry them all.
that would've been cool.
Didn't quite get that number, though.
Nope, but I got a feeling next time we will.
So do I. I do have one quick question, and it's just about the networking event that you went to. Was there anything that stood out that you would like to see us do with that? Just anything different?
The town of Rolesville is heading in the right direction. So everything that we need to be doing, we are moving that way now.
Okay.
So it's in the process of we're getting where we need to be.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm pleased that I can say I'm happy to where we at, and we are moving forward as we keep going. But we can't stop. Can't stop while we're moving.
That's right.
Let's keep moving.
Kudos to you, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You've done great since
Absolutely.
you've been.
yeah, I think so. It's been over 12 months now, right at it, or you, yeah,
Can you see the gray?
yeah.
Yeah, no, August made 1 year. So I'm
Okay.
almost at 18 months.
Yeah.
And I'm still here, so.
So as April said, you have done a tremendous job of getting us in the right direction. I know last year we have struggled with fall ball and stuff like that. And I imagine most everybody came back and that kind of thing, and it had a good sign up.
Yeah, we had a good
Are we
sign
still
up.
in process?
Well, like I said, we're still trying to bring them back. And hopefully this spring, when we do offer All-Stars for our for our 12U boys and 10U boys, because we're going to start off small to make sure we get enough to actually do it. So we're going to start off with our 12U and probably 10U boys to do All-Stars in Tar Heel this coming summer. So I think that'll bring a lot of them back, and the rec day. Bring a lot of them back.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And I'm sure, it's like you said, we're going in a good direction. You're moving strong, and it may be some new programs you add. I hear there's a lot of interest in flag football nowadays. I don't know if you heard that or not, but
Yes, well,
from females and,
yes, well, they're doing female flag football in high schools now.
Yeah,
Yep, so that's an actual team sport. Right now, we know we do flag football for our youth, and we do it in the fall.
that's good. Up to what age?
12.
Gotcha, that's good. Any other questions? Thank you, June, appreciate it. Good job.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Next report would be from Public Works. I see Isaac's coming up, so thank you, Isaac.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year so far. Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update on the Public Works Department. Not a lot has changed since I was last up here, so it'll be brief. We have started taking all the Christmas decorations down. Snowflakes started coming down today. There should be the rest of those down tomorrow. Our leaf truck, we are in full swing of leaf season. Just about everything is starting to slow down, but that'll be moving to a bi-weekly pickup through the end of February. Finally got our truck back from the shop the second time, all warranty work, but we should be good to go now. Yard waste is officially in-house as of this week. Our contract is over with Allen's Tree Service, so the town of Rolesville is now responsible for all of the yard waste pickup throughout town. We did start that today, along with picking up Christmas trees and all that stuff. So got pushed back one day already on our first week because of the weather, but we made a good hit at it today and should be finishing up tomorrow and Thursday. The 2025 solid waste calendar, yard waste calendar, loose leaf pickup, all of that should be on our website tomorrow. We've been struggling getting the calendar from GFL so we could add it to our calendar and then post it, but it should be live tomorrow if it wasn't added this afternoon. But I think that'll be tomorrow. And then outside of that, we're preparing for the possibility of some winter weather on Friday. I don't know if we'll see it or not, but we will be ready one way or the other. Like I said, very brief for me, but that is the update for our Public Works Department.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Questions for Isaac? Any questions for Isaac?
You're doing great work, Isaac.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate, I think you do a lot of work for June, always praising you guys for helping him out and stuff like that, so.
Somebody's got to keep them straight.
They're just the fun in department, right? So somebody got to do the work, but appreciate you helping other departments out, and you guys, a big part of the town, and thank y'all for all you do, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, since we're in communications town, I think Commissioner Sneed asked for Meredith to give us a brief update on I guess the nominations for comprehensive land use plan. So if you would kind of brief us on that, and I guess April, if you want to take a vote, we can do that, but it's up to you.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Kern and Town Board of Commissioners. On the consent agenda, the item that was pulled was the steering committee, the consideration of members for that for Rolesville Reimagined. As you know, that project kicked off last year, and the consultant was hoping to schedule some steering committee meetings starting later this month. And we'd have a series of 4 to 6, and those meetings would involve a smaller group of citizens diving into the sections and the framework of the comprehensive plan, and then as a starting point. And then we plan to have multiple community-wide engagement events to look at that framework, get feedback from the community, and take that input and use that in developing the comprehensive plan draft, or the update draft. And when those large community engagement events are held, we get a lot of feedback, and that's really exciting. So it would be great, help to staff to have the steering committee be in place to take all of that input and kind of go through it and decipher it and categorize it and come back and, take a look at it and talk to us about it, and that can help make our plan better as we work through it. And we did receive 9 applications for the steering committee during the months of October and November, and all the applications were excellent. Any of those people will be fantastic on the steering committee. Our consultant recommends that we have a group of 4 to 5, and a staff team took a look at the applications and selected 5 to recommend to you all to take a look at. If you would be more comfortable diving in deeper, maybe we could bring it to the work session in 2 weeks If you have enough information now, we picked those, or the staff team picked the potential members based on where they are geographically in Rolesville. We're trying to spread them out so it's not everyone from the same neighborhood. And then the other thing we looked at was how long had that person lived in Rolesville. So we tried to pick a couple members that had been here for a short time or a long time, or somewhere in between. So if we had 2 members like in the same neighborhood, kind of waived that fact. So that's how we came up with the list of 5.
Great. Yeah. So it's up to you, April. If you, I mean, I looked at the list. I didn't see anybody standing out on that I have any opposition to. I don't know about the board, but if you're ready to make a consideration, we'll come back as her suggestion, and it's up to the board what you guys want to do.
I think it'd be great to make a go ahead and take care of it tonight. If we could do that.
Is there any opposition? No opposition, make a motion in April.
Okay, I'll make a motion that I don't have it in front of me, but I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the list of 5 members for the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed. Thank you, appreciate that.
Thanks, Meredith.
All right, we'll get into some other business now. One of the first things on there is some more appointments. We got appointments to the Planning Board and appointments to the Parks and Recreation Board. And April Sneed is the liaison working with them, and was assigned to kind of make some recommendations, look over the application and make some recommendations for that. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, I was responsible for the planning board, and Commissioner Long assisted me with making the decision for the people that we had selected. We had 2 seats for the ETJ and that expired on December 31st, and 1 in-town seat that is open due to a withdrawal. And we had 8 people to apply, and for those 3 positions, we have the people that we would like to recommend for those seats are Mike Moss, and he is an incumbent, and he would be returning to his seat in the ETJ. We have Frank Pierce, also an incumbent, who would be returning to his seat in the ETJ. And then we have Miss Amanda Chrysovergis, hopefully, and she would be have the seat for our in-town position. So we did have a lot of really, really good candidates for those positions, and so there are people that I think that we should, as I had spoken with the mayor about, keep in our pipeline as other positions in the community, in the town become available that we do need volunteers for.
Thank you. And I guess that's coming as a committee motion from the committee. So one of you could make the motion, one could second it.
You want to do it right now?
Go for it.
Okay.
Then I'll make a motion that the names provided today for the planning board be accepted as part of the planning board.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion second. Now we discuss it. I think the only comment I have is we did make some term limits on these boards. So, they are going to start coming up probably next time a rotation come around. So it's going to be a lot of new people added then if nobody, resigns. But we did have 2 incumbents to stay on there and one new person coming on. So I think is what she kind of recommended from the board there. All right, any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any? Okay, thank you. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Commissioner Vilga, you got a report?
Yeah, we had 2 open positions. One of them was because we had somebody actually term out. We finally have that. I think they loved the job, but you have to take a year break between terms after you've done 2 terms of 3 years.
So you had somebody rotate off?
Yep. So we have one other one that's, he's been on there for 3 years. He's helped us out a lot. And we would like to reappoint, or to request to reappoint him, Dr. Al-Hori. And we had one interview that me and Mayor Pro Tem Sneed did with Joni Lanterman. A good interview. She's actually lived in town for over 4 years. Coaches, so she'd probably be the person we were actually losing off our board, coaches for their children. And then we would be bringing somebody on now that actually coaches as well. So it's kind of good to have that insight from that perspective. Also has worked with hospitality and everything else and management and stuff like that. So I feel like it'll be a good asset to the team. So I'd like to recommend those two. So I'd make a motion to reappoint Dr. Al-Hori and appoint Joni Lanterman.
I'll second.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second from the committee for these appointments. Is any discussion on those? And I think like Paul said, one of these, they actually had a vacancy because somebody's time expired and they couldn't come back. But hopefully they'll set out a thing and come
Yeah,
back if they enjoy
exactly.
working there, so.
Great turn.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Well, thank you, appreciate that, board. We do have a couple of new items. Actually, they are hearings. The first one is a legislative hearing, TA 24-02, building heights requirements. I see Meredith is coming up, so I will turn it over to you, Meredith.
Great, thank you. Good evening once again. This is TA 2402, building height requirements, and we all know we've talked about this one a few times. So, see how the discussion goes. I don't know what just happened to the screen. Cool. This is a picture from downtown Burlington, and Tanner Hazlett, our planner one, has done a great job with research and supporting information yet once again. So he looked at some different communities so we could do some comparison with the town of Rolesville. So Tanner took a look at Burlington, Kernersville, Knightdale, Wake Forest, Wendell, and Zebulon. And since a lot of our discussion has been focused on general commercial type districts, this table focuses on, excuse me one sec. This table focuses on central business, downtown, general commercial type zoning districts. So if we look at Burlington, they have a central business zoning district that has no height maximum. They also have a general business, which would be like general commercial, that has a 36-foot height maximum if you're adjacent to single-family residential, otherwise none. And the central business compares to our town center district, which has a maximum height of 60 feet. And right now, our general commercial has a maximum height of 35 feet with 42 feet proposed in this amendment package. With Kernersville, also in their central business district, there is no maximum height, and their general commercial type district has a 60-foot maximum height and unlimited based on what other districts are adjacent and providing additional building setback from the property line, so there's more space. With Knightdale, their town center district is 70 feet or a maximum of 5 stories, and their highway business is also 70 feet with a max of 5 stories. With Wake Forest, they do have a highway business district. 3 stories is the maximum. That's probably about 45 feet. And 90 feet is permitted in the US 1 corridor, which doesn't quite apply to us, except maybe around 401. Their neighborhood business district has a maximum of 3 stories, and that could be similar to our general commercial. And again, the commercial story is typically about 15 feet, so that's probably about 45 feet, 42 to 45 feet. In Wendell, their downtown mixed use has a maximum of 4 stories. Their corridor mixed use, like a highway commercial, has a maximum of 5 stories. And their community center, which appears to be like a general commercial district, has a maximum of 5 stories also. And that would be about 60 feet if you go with that 15-foot commercial typical story height. For Zebulon, the downtown core district has a maximum of 60 feet or 5 stories, and their general commercial is 50 feet and up to 100 feet with additional setback from the property line. So you can see when you compare these communities to Rolesville, the height maximums are consistent or higher than what we allow in Rolesville. So with residential districts, previously, the amendment package that went to planning board included a proposed change to residential high from 35 feet to 45 feet, and staff has taken that out of the amendment package just to keep all residential at a 35-foot maximum, unless it's in a mixed-use district or a town center, like the apartments at Cobblestone. For non-residential districts, for general commercial, right now the maximum height is 35 feet. We've talked in previous work sessions about making building height greater in general commercial with a design alternative, something that would come to you all. So I'm proposing as a compromise to allow the maximum height to be 42 feet, just to give a few more feet in general commercial. It's just a small percentage more than what we have, but would help some projects in our downtown come to fruition more quickly. And with a design alternative, proposing to go up to 50 feet. Don't think it should be as high as some of the other districts, like the mixed-use districts, but if the right project came in and it was in the right place, and the applicant wanted to come to you all and ask for additional height, this could be an opportunity to do that. The same change is proposed for office and professional. Right now, that's also 35 feet, and intensity-wise in a zoning district, that is somewhat similar to general commercial. So thought it'd be nice to create that variation or correlation to height, depending on the intensity of the zoning district. Like, residential, lower intensity district should be a lower height. Town center is a higher intensity district. They're allowed to go to 60 feet. And the reason that the items without sprinklers, or with maybe I'm hungry for something with sprinkles. The item without sprinklers or with sprinklers, from talking to our fire chief, he said we now have fire equipment that can handle these fires at various building heights. And this is not needed anymore in our ordinance. So if we go to our mixed-use districts, Town Center and Activity Center are proposed to be the same height, and we propose to strike, or staff proposes to strike the text about the sprinkler piece, again, because of what the fire chief has told us, that we have the equipment to handle fires at this height. So that's with Town Center and Activity Center. And with Neighborhood Center, that is talking about having that correlation between intensity, zoning district intensity and height. So it seemed reasonable to ask for some additional height in Neighborhood Center, because it is a mixed-use district. The project that will be at 5109 Mitchell Mill, it's called Reserve at Mitchell Mill now. Really excited about that one. It's some different housing types, townhomes and single family, and then it has retail at the corner of Mitchell Mill and Jonesville. So in that type of project, would it be reasonable to go to 45 feet? So that's staff's recommendation with that district. And thanks to the town attorney, he caught an error before it happened. When planning staff searched for the definition of building height in the LDO, we searched for building height, not building height of. So we thought there was not a definition in the LDO for height, and there is one. So with the ordinance that's attached to this report tonight, I'm requesting that you all strike the proposed definition. We don't need it. So the planning board did look at this package before some of the edits that were made. For example, I mentioned with residential high, the package they saw included a recommended height of 45 feet, and now there's no recommendation to change residential height. And then the height for general commercial was higher than what's proposed. So what they saw was more intense than what is in front of you this evening, and they did recommend approval of that package. Staff also recommends approval based on the edits just presented to you and with the striking of the definition for building height. And I know this is a hearing, and there may be some people here who want to speak.
Very good. Any questions for Meredith at this point in time?
Real quick, Meredith, and thank you for that. You mentioned that raising from 35 to 42 feet could help push through something currently within the planning staff.
Yes.
Is it other than the preserve of Mitchell Mill? Or is that?
No, it is what we're going to see tonight with the alternative parking plan, the
Okay.
former Pine Glow site.
Sure.
That team needs a few more feet to get their
Okay,
building as is proposed at this time.
thank you.
Any other questions? Well, hang on, I'm gonna open up the public
Okay.
hearing. And let's see if there's anybody, does the applicant have any, it's no applicant in this then?
No, this is
There's no
all
applicant, okay.
staff initiated.
So is it anybody that want to speak in favor of this? This is your opportunity. Did anybody sign up at all? Nobody did? Come on up, Robert. Maybe introduce yourself.
Good evening, everybody. Mayor and Commissioners, Happy New Year's. Hope everybody had an enjoyable holiday season with the family. I know I did. I'm actually from Canada originally, and I find it cold here. I'm ready to go to Florida for a couple weeks. So hopefully we fly out to Colorado on Friday. Hopefully I missed the snowstorm, but.
You
with
could be
that-
from the state of Canada for long, right?
When my buddy said it was happening, I said I'm gonna move back to Canada when it happens, but I think the mayor understands my feelings. I've worked and lived in 32 states, and wild horses can't take me out of Rolesville, North Carolina. Love where we are. I married way up. My wife and my family enjoy Rolesville and Raleigh. Tremendous. With that being said, I think most of us in the room know who I am in regards to development. A big part of this 42-inch, 42-foot increase is something that will benefit one of the projects I'm trying to bring to Rolesville. And so I'm certainly in favor of it. Not having the increase could actually kill the deal altogether, because the tenants that we have coming in, the building's actually pre-leased and full, so it's, the height increase is marginal, but it has a very large favorable impact on what we're trying to do on the Pine Glow site and bringing the NHL in and all the other tenants that are ready to come on board. So I'm hoping that you guys consider the 42 feet and approve it this evening.
Okay, any question? Thank you, Robert, appreciate that. Any others want to speak in favor? I have anybody? Anybody want to speak in opposition to the building height requirements? Not hearing any, I'm gonna close the public hearing. And with that, I'm gonna ask Meredith if there's any follow-up comments, and then I'll turn it over to the board.
No additional staff comments. As I've mentioned before, staff recommendation is for approval, and I am here for any questions you have.
Yeah. The only comment I had was, I don't want to keep coming back, So you feel pretty comfortable this is a good height, and it should serve us well without having to come back and somebody wants another 2 feet or something.
Right, right. I hope this will help projects like the former Pine Glow site and similar type projects come through with just that few extra feet. As you saw with the comparison to the other communities, their height limits were typically higher than ours. So I was hoping that would help you all be more comfortable with that number.
Okay. Any other questions for Meredith? If not, I will turn it over to the board for consideration.
First of all, kudos to Tanner for his extensive research and comparing us to local.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he is.
Great.
Darn good.
And he eliminated
He gets
a lot of questions. But I feel really good about this.
I only have one question. Why not the 50? Just go straight 50 versus the 42?
General commercial? Because I was trying to create a compromise between what staff originally proposed and what you all seemed comfortable with. If you're comfortable with a little bit more, great.
Okay, thank you.
What are you thinking?
Any other questions? Any thoughts of that?
Personally, I would be comfortable with the 50 because I think that doesn't, it saves us with having to come back to do this again. It gives us some wiggle room. I don't think it puts us over a very high dimension in terms of height. I think it's feasible from my perspective. I think 50 would be the best number from my
And I think the way you propose it, the 50 would be by request only to the board. Is that right? Is that kind of where I
Yes.
took it?
Yeah,
Yes.
so take that
If
request
you
out.
think it's good, then they
Yeah,
don't
just
need
take it's good.
request.
Like, we just take.
But can I ask one question about that? So is at 50 feet, is that gonna get us a whole different type of development that we wouldn't get at 42 that we should consider?
That's a really great question. I'm wondering if that, to allow for some creativity and unique development, maybe that number does need to be higher. Design alternative up to, you know, maybe at least enough for another story on top of the 42.
Another story would give us how many stories? 4?
Let's see, 35 is,
Four-ish.
42 could be 4 stories.
And so where would these 4 stories be left?
It's really probably closer to 3 with a little something extra.
And so where in town?
I'm doing my math wrong, I'm sorry, that would be 3 stories, and, okay, where in
So
town,
42 would be 3 stories?
yes, with a little extra flavor for architecture.
And so then that begs the question of where in town would this be?
Oh, general commercial?
Because what's left?
There's, we're thinking about the Main Street corridor, there's still some general commercial along the Main Street corridor. And there is an opportunity for a few parcels along the Main Street corridor to be rezoned to general commercial. If some residential parcels wanted to rezone in the future, and then we have just a couple general industrial parcels left. That, you know, someone, you know, as Main Street continues to get better and better with the activity and the businesses, and that, you know, with Wallbrook and Cobblestone being the bookends and the new Pine Glow project, there could be more desire to rezone to general commercial.
And the project that's in front of the storage as well,
Right,
because
you're
they
exactly
proposed
right.
2 floors, so
You're right,
this
that,
could,
good point, that was zoned for general commercial.
Yeah. I think what I'm hearing is, I think the board is agreeing on everything. It's just a matter, the original proposal will give the board more control, because it has to come back to us. So the question of the board, April, and you know, you guys on this side, do you want that control or not? If you want that control, then you go with the original. If you feel like, if you feel comfortable without the control, we could go with what Linwood is saying, right?
I mean, I think this really falls on me.
Huh?
I'll just take the credit. This falls on me. And that was the thought process behind the entire thing, was just because if this does fall on Main Street, we would like to have a little more control of it before we just say, yeah, you can build whatever you want up to 50 feet. So that was, but if you guys are okay with that, there's a majority here that would be okay, it sounds like, with 50. So that's, I mean, I could go along with
Where
it.
are those spots? That's my
Right, that's
question.
what I worry about.
You know,
right.
is it across the street from the park?
Right.
Are they gonna put a 3-story building right there? I mean, that's what my mind is thinking. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I do.
so
Well,
where are those spots?
Actually, it
That
could
would
be anywhere that's rezoned.
Right.
Right.
So
when-
it could be
if it is
anywhere.
rezoned.
If it's rezoned for
Right.
commercial, it could be anywhere, right? Anywhere. It's no spot.
Right.
We got some spots zoned that now, but anything can be rezoned by a future board, but,
And this is the roof level. This is not to parapet level. This is finished
For
roof.
a flat roof building, it would be the top of the roof.
Right.
For, I call it like a roof like this, midpoint, and for a mansard roof, the top of the mansard.
Okay.
Some, the dormers may stick up higher.
Okay.
all right. So I hear 2 things, you know, who wants to make a motion? We could go with Linwood, or we go with Paul. Paul, you know, you guys, what do y'all want to make a motion, and we'll vote on it?
For the boards, to the extent it's helpful to the board,
Make a motion, we'll vote on it, see
you
where it goes.
you could set this up with a motion and a substitute motion. So if the first one fails, you go back to the other. So you do that. I'll also throw out for the board's consideration, given the new law adopted in the state of North Carolina with regard to downzoning, whatever you choose here, you can't go back as to any of the places to which it applies.
That's a good point. If it doesn't get changed, which it could, but if it doesn't get changed, that's a very good point.
I want to make a motion to approve as presented tonight.
Okay, so we got a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'm a second that one.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
Less the definition of building height.
Yes.
Yeah. Just as presented. right?
Yeah.
I think his motion on the floor is to approve just as presented by the planning department and the recommendation planning department. So I got a motion, a second. Is there any other discussion?
I do have discussion. So just so I'm understanding when it comes down to the design piece of this, because I hear that's one of the biggest contention issues. So I don't want to call out specifics, but we're trying to make sure that when we have something aesthetically presented to us, it has an appeasement to the eye. Would we not be able to control that more than the actual height of the building? Can we not have say-so over design of the look, not necessarily over the dimensions? Is my question making sense? So my question to you guys is it the look that's important or is it the height? Because I'm agreeing that we need to make sure we have an aesthetic look.
I think it's the height.
It's the height.
I think that first is the height, yeah.
Yeah.
First is the height, I would say.
So is it the height in the location or is it the height in, because what I'm in fear of is the redesign piece of it is I don't see 8 feet being that big of a difference. I just don't. Now, we were talking 60, that's something different, but we're talking 8. So I'm trying to figure out in that 8 feet, what would be that big of a issue for us to not move forward with it being 50?
That goes back to my question of, does that 8 feet open up a whole different world of projects that could come before us if it is automatically approved at 50?
Mr. Shar was asking if he could make another comment, and I said I wasn't sure. It'd have to be up to the mayor.
No,
of course. Okay. Sorry about that.
We got the next step is we got to vote on this, and it could go either way, so, you know. So Commissioner Vogel has a motion on the board to go with the staff recommendation, and there is a second, so we got a motion second. Any other discussion? Any other discussion?
And my concern is if we can't go back.
Yeah, I mean, that is big, but I just,
And I don't know what that 8 feet would do.
And we could always approve it on a case-by-case basis,
Exactly.
even if we approve the 42-foot as proposed tonight.
I mean, you still have the 50
still
foot in
have the
there.
50
So you're
buffer
okay,
in
yeah.
there.
So
But
it's
you
not
just have a chance of taking a look at it before it goes all the way.
Yeah.
Greater
That's the thing.
say in what's
Yeah.
proposed.
All right.
but don't we have that now?
Yeah.
Are we losing
No,
that?
because if you approved a 50, if they built a 50, you have no say.
Stuck.
But we still have say in design, do we not?
As long as it meets the LDO, no. I mean, I don't see you would have a major.
As long as it meet the requirements for LDO.
Not much.
The board doesn't see site plan or architectural drawings unless it comes as part of conditions with a zoning case.
Okay.
You would see potentially that information as part of a design alternative application, which will come to you in the form of an evidentiary hearing similar to a variance, where the applicant would say, given your height, I can't do this reasonable project. They have to have this unnecessary hardship, and that's the basis upon which a design alternative is granted. It is not, at least as written in the LDO, it's not designed as a beauty contest.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Any other discussion? All right, I'm gonna call it the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Did you?
I said aye.
You said aye, okay. All right, that's unanimous, so thank you. Thank you, board.
Aye.
I appreciate that. Great, so thank you. While you're up there, do you have the next one, the tree ordinance?
Yes, I do.
All right, so the next one is TA 24-03, tree ordinance applicability.
Thank you. So the Tree City USA is an Arbor Day Foundation program in cooperation with the USDA Forest Service and the National Association of State Foresters. And as part of Rolesville's 2023 Tree City USA approval, town staff agreed with the Tree City USA leaders that we would update our tree ordinance to make it very clear that it's applicable 24/7. Eddie Henderson and Parks and Recreation came to me with this request and said that the tree ordinance leaders were reading our ordinance or weren't convinced that our ordinance was clear enough that it was applicable all the time. And Eddie said it was, important to the town and to be a tree city. And with the 2024 application was just handed in at the end of the month, and Eddie included in that we were updating the LDO. That at that time, the text amendment went to the planning board, And the planning board did recommend approval. However, the planning board suggested including town easements and town greenway easements in this as well. So with the purpose and intent statement with the tree ordinance, so it is the purpose of this ordinance to encourage well-planned coordinated tree plantings in the town of Rolesville, and by providing for regulation of the planting, et cetera, so we added on town-owned property and town streets, rights of way. And then after the planning board, we added town easements and town greenway easements. The staff does recommend approval of this to support the 2024 Tree City USA application, and I am here for any questions.
This one couldn't dry.
Okay. Any questions?
Couldn't dry.
I motion to recommend approval
I
of.
got, hold.
Sorry.
Open up the public hearing. Is there anybody in favor to vote, speak in favor of this? Anybody speak in opposition? I'll close the public hearing. Now I'll take your motion there.
Motion to recommend approval of TA 24-03 LEO text amendment to the tree ordinance of applicability.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a motion second. What's the other discussion? Any more discussion?
No more discussion.
None being.
Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Not hearing any. So thank you, appreciate that. Good job. Only, I don't think we got the next evidentiary hearing coming up. Before we got to do that, just circle back on one thing that Commissioner Long brought up about, I would call that statics over height. And that may be something that we could maybe address in a workshop in the future. But I think there is limit on our statics by state law, right? Some things we can't do static-wise, but.
There are, particularly in the residential area, but as to the commercial, there's still a fair amount of
Flexibility there?
latitude. That's correct.
Because, I think one of the things I remember about statics is, one time you had to have some kind of brick feature, a rock feature, or some type of feature like that rather than an aluminum building, and I think we took that out in the LDO. So statics, and that was before you came on the board, so if statics is more important than height, which I agree with you, the look of the building is a lot more important to me than particularly the height, maybe. So I agree with you. So that may be something for us to circle back to, if that's good with everybody.
It's also fair that the board at one of these hearings could also be considering compatibility and let your mind run with that idea. How well does this fit in with the neighboring properties, the neighboring uses, the neighboring heights? Is that an aesthetics question? Not so much.
Right.
But you can see that gets gray, and that's entirely appropriate.
Good.
Another aspect of that, if I can, is just the higher the building, the more parking, because of potentially the more occupants in the building, guests, patrons, employees, and that can become an issue. So,
Yeah, that's assuming if it's for story of
Correct.
heights of floors. If it's not, for, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Okay, all right, guys, evidentiary hearing. We haven't had one of these in quite a while. I don't know if we had one since you guys have been on the board. But it is a little bit different. And I'm gonna let the attorney start off with, I'll call on him before we get too much and for the legal provision statement. So with that, I think you presenting this, Meredith?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, I'll call the case, this evidentiary hearing, alternate parking plan for 414 South Main Street. Call on the attorney for legal provision statement.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll read the statement so that it's in the record. These matters are as close as you will ever have to be seated as a judge and a jury in a case, and this is how we do it. Unfortunately, we don't do it as often as we used to. Evidentiary hearings, which were formerly known as quasi-judicial hearings, have characteristics similar to court proceedings. Decisions must be based only on the evidence presented by witnesses at the hearing and site visits by the board members, if any. Witnesses must testify under oath or affirmation, and hearsay is not permitted. The parties have the right to cross-examine witnesses. There is a right to present rebuttal evidence. Parties may object to improper testimony. The evidence provided by witnesses must be competent and material. Parties have a right to be represented by legal counsel. State law prohibits a person from giving opinions about scientific, technical, and other specialized subjects about the person, unless the person, by knowledge, skill, experience, training, or education, is in fact an expert on that subject. A person wanting to give an opinion as an expert must first state his or her qualifications to be an expert. State law specifically prohibits opinions such as the use of property in a particular way would affect the value of other properties, or opinions that the increase in vehicular traffic resulting from a proposed development would pose a danger to the public safety, unless the witness who says such a thing is an expert on that subject. A member of any board exercising quasi-judicial function, that's y'all tonight, pursuant to this chapter, and I'm reading from 160D, shall not participate in or vote on any quasi-judicial matter in a manner that would violate an affected person's constitutional rights to an impartial decision maker. And now we come to everybody's favorite part of this, where I ask the board a series of questions to confirm that there are no readily apparent conflicts of interest. And y'all can answer these as a group, and I'll go slowly, so if there's something that needs to be disclosed, a board member can key their mic and put that on the record. Question 1, does any member have a fixed opinion prior to the hearing on this matter that is not susceptible to change this evening?
No.
No.
Has anyone had undisclosed ex parte communications with a party or an aggrieved party about this matter?
No.
Does anyone have a close familial, business, or other associational relationship with an affected person or a financial interest in the outcome of this matter?
No.
While not a conflict of interest per se, site visits by a board member or other specialized knowledge that you may have in this area should be disclosed. Does any member have such a disclosure to make at this time?
No.
I think everybody knows where it's at. So, you know, you ride behind it every day, so, you know.
That's a fair enough disclosure. And with that concludes the required provisions. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so with that, I will ask the clerk to administer the oaths to the witnesses. So if it's anybody here that wants to speak at all, really, to present any evidence at all in the public hearing, evidentiary hearing, please come up and be sworn in. Does that include, that includes the managers too, I think, or not? Staff managers? I mean, if you think they're going to, if you guys think you're going to speak, right? They need.
Correct.
If you think you want to say anything at all, you probably need to be sworn in. No.
Do you swear that the evidence that you shall give to the board in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes.
All right, thank you. Open evidentiary hearing for alternate parking plan, 414 South Main Street. And I will ask a staff report.
Certainly. Good evening once again. The applicant and property owner for the alternative parking plan for 414 South Main Street is Optimal Glow LLC. And the engineer on the project, John Frazier, is the applicant. And the property, again, is located at 414 South Main Street, and the PIN number is provided on the slide. So the applicant is seeking the alternative parking plan, or APP, to provide 158 parking spaces in lieu of 222 parking spaces. That is a 29% reduction from the minimum parking requirement. And that parking requirement is based on indoor recreational use, eating establishment, and retail sales and service, with the majority of that, about 45,000 square feet, being the indoor recreational use, and the remainder of 60,000, a little over 60,000 square feet, being for eating establishment and retail and restaurant use. This is the site plan for the project, and I will see if I can turn on the pointer so it's easier to tell what we're looking at. Hopefully that helps. So this is the proposed building, and the front of it does face South Main Street. So this is South Main Street. And again, this is the former Pine Glow site, and the two driveways are in the same place that the driveways are today. And to help orient you as to what is around the site, there's a Shell gas station on the western side of the property. There's Storage Max 2 property behind the gas station. North of the subject property is A Master Teams townhomes for most of it, and just this back corner are Granite Ridge townhomes. And the Coffee Lodge is on the eastern side of the subject property. You can see the parking area is provided one double bay in front of the building, a parking area on the eastern side of the building, and more parking in the rear of the building. So an alternative parking plan includes 10 review standards that are provided in the LDO, and the applicant has to demonstrate compliance or meeting of these 10 standards. And I'd like to go through those with you and provide any staff comments. So the first one, a parking study is submitted that is prepared by a registered professional engineer or certified land planner in the state of North Carolina. So when this case came in, or this property came in for a rezoning to general commercial, the traffic impact analysis was waived based on the location of the property and the fact that we have the Main Street Lap Grant project going on. There's really, and there are no road connections coming on other sides of the property. So there's really nowhere to make road improvements with this property. So staff, or as the planning director, I have the ability to waive a TIA, and I did waive the traffic impact analysis for the rezoning case. And the applicant has provided a trip generation letter from a professional engineer, and they can go over those details when they come up, but I just wanted to make a note that the TIA was not required for this applicant and the rezoning case. The next review standard, the study must include size, type, and proposed use of the development, anticipated peak parking, normal parking amounts, a narrative as to why the parking requirements of the LDO do not accurately reflect the needs of the proposed development. And again, the trip generation letter has been provided by the applicant, and they will address this item as well. The third review standard is the APP may include provisions for off-site parking. I don't believe this one does. And number 4, the APP does not detract from the continuity, connectivity, or convenient proximity for pedestrians. So their engineer can address that as well. The APP minimizes the visual and aesthetic impact along the public right-of-way, and place parking to the rear or along the side of buildings to the maximum extent possible. And as we saw on the site plan on the previous slide, the applicant has one double bay of parking in front of the building, and that is not very much parking, so I think it does, I believe it meets that, because one double bay of parking still makes you feel like the building is close enough to the street, and the building is not set back very far, and there's just the typical required streetscape in front of that. So 5 is met. And item 6, the APP minimizes the visual and aesthetic impact on the surrounding neighborhood. So as far as the neighborhood goes, I mentioned that there are townhomes up to the rear of the property, and the back of the building and some parking area would be visible to the residential neighborhoods to the rear of the property. However, there is also a 25-foot perimeter buffer provided on the rear as well, and that is what is prescribed in our land development ordinance to minimize visual and aesthetic impact on surrounding neighborhoods. Review standard 7, the APP creates no physical impact on any facilities serving alternative modes of transportation. That means, is it impacting any greenway or a bus stop or anything like that? And it is not. And again, the applicant can address that. Review standard 8, the APP creates no detrimental impact on natural areas or features, and I'll let the engineer address that one as well. And the APP maintains accessible parking ratios. We need to make sure there are enough handicap spaces. Absolutely, and the development's very important. And the engineer can confirm that as well. And the 10th review standard, if the size, type, and proposed use of the development, anticipated peak parking, and anticipated normal parking amounts change due to expansions or change in the uses, the APP will become null and void. This is less of a standard, more of just a marker saying if the plan needs to be consistent, if something changes, it will need to come back to you. So I will leave it on the review standards and let the applicant begin their piece.
Okay, before we do that, any questions for Meredith before she sits down?
No, thank you.
Okay, all right, before John, before you get up, do you have any attorneys in the building? Is there any representation from attorneys? Okay, well, good enough. So then I'll call for evidence from the applicant and applicant witnesses, so you can present any evidence you need.
Hey, good evening. Happy New Year. My name's John Frazier. I'm a licensed professional engineer with FLM Engineering and representing Optimal Glow LLC in this request. Do I need to state my address or just write it down afterwards? Okay. I will briefly summarize the plan that we submitted and then go through each of the evidentiary requirements, just to note how we've complied with those. And we also have Mr. Robert Shar, who is owner of Optimal Glow LLC, who will provide evidence in support of the plan, and Mr. Josh Rinke with Bolton and Mink, who's a professional traffic engineer, who will provide evidence in support of the parking generation memo that they provided as well. As Meredith mentioned, the proposed Pine Glow site is a redevelopment of the former Pine Glow industrial property, and the proposal was roughly 64,000 square feet with a mix of uses from eating establishment, indoor recreation, and some retail sales and services, with the primary use, almost 50,000 of that 64,000 being indoor recreation. And the alternative parking plan that we submitted really only proposes a change to the parking ratio for the indoor recreation. We are not proposing to deviate from the eating establishment or the retail sales and services. The town LDO requirement for parking for indoor recreation is 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet. That's the minimum requirement. So roughly 1 space per 250 square feet. The particular uses that we are proposing that Mr. Shar has committed for Pine Glow are different than your typical drop-in or free play type indoor recreation. They are training facilities, and again, he can speak to this in a little more detail, but they are primarily training facilities for basketball, hockey, and an establishment called Rock Solid Warrior, which is another training fitness type facility. So there will be a limited number of participants that will be at the facility at a given time. The basketball center is expected to have a maximum of 15 students at a time. And that basketball center is occupying about 22,000 square feet. If you did the math based on the town's required parking ratio, that would require 91 parking spaces as opposed to the 15 students that would be there, or trainees that would be there at one time. Similarly, the hockey facilities is roughly 13,000 square feet. They will have about 12 trainees at one time, and application of the town's LDO ratio would require 51 parking spaces as opposed to the 12 trainees. So the Rock Solid Warrior is similar in that it's a training facility, membership based, so it's not just a drop-in free play. And so given that, it's our opinion that a ratio closer to 2.5 spaces per 1,000 versus 4 spaces to 1,000 is more appropriate. And that, for the indoor recreation, would the roughly 50,000 square feet indoor recreation would yield about 123 required parking spaces versus the LDO requirement of 197 for indoor recreation. So that's where the big change that was noted in Meredith's presentation from the required versus what we're proposing comes from. As I mentioned, Bolton and Mink, Mr. Josh Rinke, they prepared a parking generation memo to support our opinion of required parking based on the uses. And to do that, they used the Institute of Transportation Engineers Parking Generation Memo. And Mr. Rinke can explain this further, but the most similar use within that parking generation manual was recreational community center. And when we applied roughly 60,000 square feet of indoor recreation, or should I say recreational community center space, that yields about 121 to 124 spaces per that manual. So it's very similar to the ratio that we are proposing, which would require 123 spaces. And again, Mr. Rinke can elaborate on that. So if with the application of our proposed parking ratio of 2.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet for the indoor recreation, the site would require 148 spaces, and we're providing 158. So we're exceeding even what we're proposing for that ratio. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go through the particular evidentiary requirements, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Shar and Mr. Rinke.
Before you do that,
Sure.
do you have a copy of the document that you just referenced, the demand letter?
Not physically, but it was submitted to the town. It's an attachment to that alternative parking.
Is it in the package?
Yes, it's in the package.
I have a hard copy here also.
That's all I need. Just has to be in the package.
So again, number one, a parking study submitted that is prepared by a registered professional engineer. We did include the parking generation memo, parking study from Bolton and Mink to satisfy that requirement. The study must include the size, type, proposed uses of the development. So that generation study, in addition to the plan that we proposed and the contents of that plan, does include the size, type of proposed uses and our anticipated parking amounts, and why, again, as I mentioned in my presentation as well, why our opinion is that the LDO does not accurately reflect the needs of this particular indoor recreation use. Number three, the APP may include provisions for off-site parking. That's not applicable. We don't have any provisions for off-site as part of our plan. Number four, the APP does not detract from continuity, connectivity, convenient proximity for pedestrians. The APP does not propose any changes to the LDO requirements for any of the connectivity, continuity, convenient proximity. As you can see on the site plan, we're providing connectivity next door to the gas station. Through coordination with town staff as part of the site plan review, we're providing pedestrian connectivity to the townhome site, and then connectivity as typical to the public right-of-way. So our plan does not detract in any way from typical connectivity requirements. Number five, the APP minimizes the visual and aesthetic impact along the public street by placing parking areas to the rear or the side of the building. As Meredith mentioned, we do have some parking here in the front, but most of the parking is to the side or the rear. So our opinion is we are meeting that requirement as well. Number six, the APP minimizes the visual and aesthetic impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And again, most of the adjacent uses are commercial. We believe our use is a compatible use. The alternative parking plan in our opinion, doesn't deviate from what would normally be or what is required by the LDO there. And where our site abuts the townhouse to the north, again, we do have a 25-foot buffer per the LDO, as Meredith mentioned. Number seven, the APP creates no physical impact on any facilities serving alternative modes of transportation. It does not. We have no impacts to any alternative modes of transportation as part of our proposal. The APP creates no detrimental impact on natural areas or features. Again, our alternative parking does not impact any natural features. And I'd like to point out, too, that we believe it's a wiser use of space than the strict application of the LDO, which potentially require a lot more parking, and you have just an empty parking field that is likely not being fully utilized. Excuse me. Again, larger parking, more impact, potential impacts, and so on and so forth. So we believe that we are complying there with number 8. And number 9, APP maintains accessible parking ratios. Our proposed site plan meets all accessible parking requirements in terms of the number of spaces, access to public right-of-way, and so on and so forth.
Question for you, sir, with number 9, with that being accessible to include handicap parking, where's that label at on this site?
You can see all of the handicap parking is here,
Okay.
here on the eastern side of the building, right on the front there.
Okay, thank you, sir. I didn't see it on the legend, so just curious.
And number 10, I think this is just more of a note, but if we understand that if there are significant changes to the plan, that the alternate parking plan would become null and void. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Shar just to speak a little bit more on the specific uses, and then Mr. Rinke for the parking generation. Thank you.
Hello again, everybody. It's been a minute. Just want to remind everybody the purpose of the center. Most of you have heard me say this, but this is really a youth training and development center. And every single tenant that we have coming in the building, starting from the hockey guys, are very specialized in what they do. The local professional hockey league is also supporting said location for junior youth training and development for 6U and 8U specifically in this location. And for most of us in the room are probably aware, the kids can't come in during the day, so training will be typically from 6 to 9 at night, and with a heavier push towards weekends. So the Monday to Friday impact is marginal, if at all, and the same applies for all of our tenants, including our basketball group. They are a very specialized youth group. That's all they do is train and develop youth from 6 to 10 youth. So it's very specific individualized training and small group training, 6 to 9 again, Monday to Friday, with more training on weekends, which is when kids are available, of course. And then the Rock Solid Warrior group is a parkour group that only focuses on 6 to 11U. Very similar conversation. Training is the same thing, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9, with a heavier concentration on weekends when kids are available. The fourth tenant is a group called Rockblock Fitness, and they do the exact same thing. They are mainly going to be utilizing the location for youth training and youth development. Same conversation, 6 to 9, they're not available during the day, and with a heavier focus on weekends, which don't impact the parking designation plan. So we believe this is a great plan and product for Rolesville. I'm certainly excited about it, and I'll open it up to any questions that the board has.
Any questions for Robert? It sounds like most of the facility is, I guess you register and sign up and, part of the program type deal. Is it any walk-in from any type of customers or food, nothing?
None of our tenants presently have any walk-in business. They're all pre-registered individuals. And just so everybody knows, their hockey rink, for example, which is 13,005, is a 60% capacity ice rink. It's not a full rink. So as a result of that, its focus is 3-on-3 hockey and training and development, much condensed in regards to the amount of people coming through the rink, with a heavy focus on weekends again, which won't have any impact on the Monday to Friday consideration. Most of the tenants in the space, I really focused on this as a youth center. We plan on doing a lot of fun stuff on weekends for less fortunate, local kids, community, but again, that's on weekends, that's not Monday to Friday. Of course, kids are in school, and you know what happens when school's done. They got to do homework, eat, and then go to bed. So the majority of the focus and traffic count will be Saturday and Sunday.
Good. Any other questions for Robert? Did you have someone else you wanted to bring up?
Okay. Joshua, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Board members, that parking letter is at page 29 that was referenced.
How's it going? I'm Josh Ranke, professional engineer in the state of North Carolina, 418 South Dawson Street, Raleigh, North Carolina address. I'll sign in a minute. My firm was brought on board to do a trip gen primarily for NCDOT since it was already waived the TIA as well as the parking study. So I'll briefly go through it, and I'm happy to answer any questions because I can really nerd out when it comes to traffic and parking and all that and get too in the weeds, but I'll keep it high level. Essentially, we have a couple different resources we look at when we have parking generation studies that we do. So there's the ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineers, has a manual that's nationwide that looks at a bunch of different land uses and such. ULI, Urban Land Institute, has a different manual that usually ITE is a little more conservative. Urban Land Institute does a lot of like interaction between sites, so kind of to provide a conservative estimate in this, we did use the ITE manual saying, all right, we don't want to be too aggressive with any reductions in parking. We want to make sure there's adequate parking, but we do want something that's realistic. So with the ITE trip generation, where we looked at that, I know John said earlier that the reduction for the recreation use to 2.5 trips per 1,000. ITE is actually the higher. You look at rates and equations, rates are 2.07. So once again, what we're seeing there is the parking that will be provided is definitely conservative. It'll be more than we would expect even using the ITE, which is a little more conservative than other resources we could be using. So I think those are some of the key points there with the trip generation, just because I like to look at things and sort of back check factors of safety with engineers and all. We did study a similar site out in Greensboro to see how many trips it was generating. DOT wanted us to kind of look at something similar. That trip generation, we look at peak hours with all of these things. So it doesn't matter what hour of the day it is, we're looking at that peak demand when it comes to parking, when it comes to trip generation. Even if they don't overlap different land uses, we're like, they all are at the peak at the same time to provide that conservative estimate. Even the trip generation was showing this parking would be adequate. We know some people would stay there for an extended period of time, but even during the peak times, you had about 108 vehicles entering, and you had like 96 exiting. So while you had some coming in, a lot were leaving too. So net gain is you're having some traffic in there, but nowhere near even what the parking manuals show. So we think this would be very conservative, you know, with the parking provided compared to what we saw in the parking study. Happy to answer any questions on that. But like I said, you know, the big number there is the 2.07 that we're seeing for the recreation, where they're giving 2.5, and then they're keeping the same thing with the restaurant, retail, and a lot of that use, to be honest, those will be cars that are probably already there for the purpose of the recreation facility and happen to stay there, so they wouldn't necessarily be a new car. So another reason this is probably pretty conservative. But happy to answer any questions on it.
I have a question. So the park in Greensboro that declined to allow traffic counters on the property, how does that really impact your ability to make a...
Oh, you study what's coming and going, and that was for the trip generation. So that's why I wanted to be clear. We did the parking study based on a couple different manuals we looked at. We used conservative with the ITE. DOT requires a trip generation letter. So while the traffic impact analysis was waived,
Yes.
they said, well, we'd like to show that it's under our threshold as well, and we don't require TIA. So what they do is data collectors, they'll set up video cameras in this day and age. They don't sit out there anymore, and they see what's coming and going from the driveway. So you don't have to be on the property. You still know what's coming and going. So like I said, it's not a apples to apples with parking. The parking study was for the purposes of parking. I just was like, let me back check, make sure everything seems legit with what we got from the ITE manual, because there's no perfect land use. It's taking a lot of resources and compiling the data. So that is one where we are seeing, even at the peak time, even if you didn't account for anybody leaving, all those that entered are still below what the parking we'd provide. So it means that other site, that's all, it's the trip gen letter, not the parking study that we did the Greensboro site. But yes, it's done by looking at the driveways of who enters and exits. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm more thinking like they still operate. Seems like they still run the neck like theirs. An influence of one influences the other. Right. So I'm just really trying to formulate in my head how the trip generation doesn't really impact parking, but yet it does, right?
And I'm saying that's well below the parking where that's being provided also. So there's not a direct correlation, but they do impact each other for sure. Because you could have people that stay there for hours, so they might not come during the peak time. But like I said, while you do have that very peak period, you have 108 vehicles entering, you also had 96 exiting during that peak time, which probably means, you know, like a lot of things you see in this day and age, there might be a parent that drops off somebody and doesn't just sit there and wait during training or something and goes and does other things. And that's probably what was going on with that site that we studied.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. Anything else?
Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more testimony, John?
No, we have nothing else to add. Thank you.
Okay. Is it any others that want to speak in favor, or I guess present evidence in favor? Is it anyone want to present any evidence in opposition?
Can I say one more thing?
Opposition?
No. Came up with any other additional comment, no opposition.
Oh, in favor? Go right
I
ahead.
just want to add one more comment. When I was working with our traffic study group, we spent a lot of time trying to find a building that was similar in training facility. So we were very specific about what building we went after, and that was the closest we could find that was similar in specialized training for youth and youth training. It wasn't just a haphazard, let's go to Greensboro. Took us almost 2 weeks to figure out what building we wanted to pay attention to and study. I
Right.
just wanted the board to understand this wasn't just pick a building and haphazardly go about it. We spent a lot of time and energy making sure it was a similar building with similar training and development for specifically youth. So I just wanted to make sure the board understood that.
Thank you. Yes.
So the specialized training, the youth that you have, and these 4 areas, is it 4 areas, I believe? So I would assume that you already have a great demand for this here in North Carolina?
Do you mean for the sports facility or the youth training?
For this specialized youth training?
Not only is there a huge demand, from what I can tell here locally, but I've had requests for areas like Mebane and 6 other locations inside the state of North Carolina. The youth training and youth development, specifically in sports, has become unbelievably in high demand. And no matter what's going on in the economy, parents are always going to spend money on youth and their kids, as everyone here is aware. So I have a mandate to build 4 more of these with very heavy dollar groups behind us that are very motivated and interested in supporting youth and youth development, specifically in specialized training.
That makes me think of the volleyball facility that we have in town, which is specialized training for that.
I have more calls coming at me weekly than I can field with people wanting to come into the space, but it's fully committed. If my only regret, and I've said this to the mayor more than once, I need 5 more acres because the demand is tremendous.
Well, I'm sure we have 5 more acres somewhere else in Rolesville for you.
I'm always looking and I'm always bugging Mr. Curran.
Meredith, conversation there.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and if I can add to it, Ron, I really appreciate the amount of communication and support you've given us. As a developer, it's tough in major cities around the Raleigh market, and Rolesville has been unbelievable. From the police department to the fire department, they've been an unbelievable resource for me, which is encouraging and a big part of the reason I'm here. But demand is huge.
Very good, thank you.
Very good.
Mr.
Thanks.
Shar?
Appreciate that.
First, I'm excited about the project. I'm looking forward to it opening. Question, are there any audience seating inside the facility for the athletics?
The short answer is absolutely. The long answer is I've done things like travel to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, where there is a 3-on-3 hockey rink that the NHL uses. And we formulated, I want comfortable seats with heat where the husbands and wives aren't freezing their butt off in the sports arena, but at the same time you don't get up and have back issues. So we are looking at all of that very seriously, including extra floor padding on the basketball floors and additional ad spend on the places like hockey, where if any of you have been in any of the North Carolina hockey rinks, they're miserable for the most part, with the exception of Wake Competition Center, which is brand new. But that's the forefront of what we look at. And this is really meant to be high-end, experiential. For those of you who have been in the sports centers around Raleigh, a lot of them are candidly pretty disrespectful when you go into the bathrooms and some of the equipment that's being used. And I, for one, won't allow that in this space, nor will I allow it in the building.
Do you know what the capacity will be for the audience,
For which,
the observers?
for which group? The hockey, basketball?
Take your pick. All of them? Any one of them?
Well, it's such a condensed group of individuals with already signed up individuals that I am allowing, the tenants are responsible for a portion of it, but they're giving me the seat count, and we're talking through it with the architects, our civil engineers, and just making sure spacing is accurate. The last thing you want to do is have people jammed into one location.
Sure.
So while the focus is on youth, the experience for everybody coming into the space is really at the forefront of what we're doing, including the aesthetics of the building. If you guys have looked at the plan, we could have very easily put up a metal gray building and gone forward, but just the window changes that we've made as of late is an enormous cost to me to get it up and running, almost $1 million just in windows. So we are focused on high quality experiential touch points for youth and for our community. So we are very, very serious about seating and comfort and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and I think what you're trying to get at is you could have mom and dad come to this thing,
Yep.
or you could have mom, dad, and 6 kids come to this thing. So that's what we're worried about with parking and stuff. Everything else, or grandma and grandpa comes, and all of a sudden you have tons of people around the state. So is there a limit to the amount of people you're going to be able to put in a certain section based on, like, say, 12 students at a time?
Well, I haven't gone to the granular level at this stage of the game. I do know that limiting a hockey rink for 3-on-3, you've got 6 players in the room. So I don't know what the average family count is nowadays, 3.2, but I don't foresee any issues with capacity and challenges from that perspective. Now, I would like to do some exciting things on weekends that will change that. Of course, that's going to be a conversation I'm going to have with you guys in the planning board, but that's the only time there may be a challenge in regards to capacity when we do specialized events, where the NHL comes in candidly and wants to do something neat for the community, and everybody comes crashing into the building. Those are going to be one-offs, but I'm expecting to have that happen potentially.
If it would help, just for a simple calculation, if the hockey facility, which is roughly 13,000 square feet against 6 trainees, the parking ratio we're proposing is 2.5 spaces per 1,000. That'd be roughly 32 spaces. So there's extra built in for audience members like you. It sounds like maybe was mentioned.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
In a roundabout way, you're working towards an answer, but
This is not a perfect response for
I
the
know.
question either. I wish I had an exact science to it. But to your point, I'm excited about what we're working on. I've committed the majority of my financial means to the project, and I'm extremely committed and all in. And so we are very serious about how we build. For those of you who've seen the stuff I've put up in the past, we take it very, very serious. And then we've spent a lot of time and energy making sure the cosmetics of this building meets where Rolesville is going. And I, for one, am tired of the Nationals and some of the other people coming in going, Rolesville's too small, why would I even entertain it? Similar to the height restriction. Well, I live in Rolesville, and I want our community to grow and expand the right way with the right builds and the right process, but we're very serious about comfort and making sure safety and security is a big part of how we build the building. But there is no exact science to the question, unfortunately.
and there's no exact science to parking either.
No, there isn't.
0%. 0%.
Thank you. Any other questions?
But my question is, what's going to prevent you from coming back and needing more parking later?
That's a great question. The NHL gets really excited and starts wanting to do 3-on-3 on a weekday and get serious about NHL programs as one example. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But the groups that we're dealing with are very serious about how they train and develop their team. They're well known in their space. Our basketball guy's been around 35 years. He's loved in the community, and he's got the teams that he's actually, as an example, he's renting from churches and high schools, and he's just moving the team.
AAU, so AAU for type. So I guess if you're reducing it by 29%, I mean, if you're gonna, we're looking at big picture, we're expecting big things. So would you not need additional? I'm not trying to put back more, but what's to prevent you from using what you're losing? If you're
There is
planning.
nothing preventing me other than the approval tonight, which restricts me to expand. But the mayor, I've had numerous conversations with him about acquisitioning Food Lion, communities around the building to get additional parking, and handle that if it comes in the future. But as of right now, I don't foresee an issue on demand because these are groups that have the specific amount of people coming into the space. I mean, it's a great question, but I don't know if I have an answer that will respond to the question, because I don't really have a crystal ball to say
I get that.
how will it go and how will it not go.
I get that. I'm speaking positively for you, right? And in doing that, I'm also seeing that if you're only 158 spots and things do go well, what happens when you're over capacity in a year or two? So I was just curious of just your plan and if you thought about it that far.
As recently as 3 weeks ago, called our local landowners for the exact same conversation we're having to anticipate a potential increase. But that restriction, today lies solely on our tenant base. But I am constantly looking for alternative stuff from a parking perspective, but that's kind of where we're at.
Here's what I know. Good news travels fast in the sports community. And so when people see a good thing, more come.
No doubt.
And so, I'm just wanting you to prepare, in your mind, maybe not losing all of it, but, some of it, but just keep that in mind because it's going to do well. You have a facility that's a town that's wants it, but I just know that when, especially AAU, I can only speak from AAU, boys and girls, 15, you're talking 15. I think the town manager would tell you if you have one coach, you're going to get 3 more that's going to want to be in there within a year, especially if you have a great facility. And I know you're going to have these tenants, but it's going to grow.
I'm hoping I can expand to a second location. Right. That's really my hope.
And you're going to do that in Roseville?
That's my plan.
I just want to hear you say that out
Commissioner
loud.
Long, all kidding aside, what I said earlier is true. Most of the municipalities today in the Raleigh market are very, very difficult to work with, and I get to choose what cities I work in. Now, I live in Roseville, and I love Roseville, and the mayor can confirm. I ask probably by quarterly, land, where can I build more, where can we do more? So I'm always on the hunt, and I grew up in an environment where I was traveling on plane in cars. I live less than a mile from here. I'm hoping everything else I build in the future, and I've done 7 projects in the market, all within 2 miles. I want to be in Rolesville. But to the extent we have land and I can find land to do more good stuff, that's kind of where we are a little restricted. Now, I do own 151 Grand Rock Way, Commissioner. That is adjacent to the property. And I've had several offers on it to do things, but I'm kind of waiting and trying to identify what happens with the sports complex. That's an 1.5 acre tract, and it's literally, we're going to attach potentially a walking trail from that site to the 414 site. So we do have certain things that I can do and utilize if I need to. I'm really hoping I can find a second location when the demand kicks in like I expect it to.
Thank you, Mr. Shores.
Thank you. Any other question? Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anything else, John? Okay. So once again, I'll call for any evidence from parties in opposition. Not hearing any. I will ask for any additional comments from staff. Also, I'll go ahead, the application and the staff report that was given earlier, I'll go ahead and submit that in for evidence. So it's in evidence now. I guess one thing, I think Commissioner Long brought up a couple of good things. This is not the final improvement. It's still more for site plan and all that kind of stuff, right? Or is this the final thing?
This is an outstanding comment on the site plan. The site plan is Site Development Plan 2405, and that is available on the town's website. And that site plan, actually on, you can see it here, cannot be approved unless the APP is approved and or if it's not approved, then the applicant would need to make changes to the site plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It makes sense. So this is a parking plan for that site plan?
Yes. It's, like I said, an outstanding comment on the site development plan for the project.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other comments? If not, go ahead and give us a closing if you want to.
Staff has no additional comments. Certainly available for any questions if you need clarification on anything at all.
Okay. Any comments from the board or questions from the board for the staff or Meredith? Thank you, Meredith. Good job. Appreciate that. With that, I'm going to close this evidentiary hearing, and I'll turn it over to deliberation of the board. What
I
are your
move to
thoughts?
approve alternative parking plan based on the information provided by the applicant.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and we got a second. Any other discussion on the motion? And not hearing it, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, board. Appreciate that. So with that, thank you, Meredith. I think, I know some of you echoed some good thoughts on this project. I know Mr. Shaw has left, but I think it's exciting to have something like this in town, especially on Main Street. I know the Main Street Committee, what do they call? I think that's what they call, Main Street Committee. They have met a couple times with Mr. Shaw, and I think it's an interesting thing. I'm not expert, that's why I didn't say anything, but I know he had originally planned to put food courts and all kinds of stuff in there, like retail. I would think that would be a lot more intense than something like this, if you had a lot of food courts. So maybe this is a good use for that. So hopefully it is. Thank y'all for a good job tonight. Appreciate that. So with that, we're kind of wrapping up. I will see if we have any comments from the town attorney.
No, sir, not this evening.
No comments?
None.
How about from the town manager?
Yes, I do have two comments. First thing I wanted to do was introduce our new assistant town manager to you all. And so, Stephen, if you want to come and just introduce yourself.
You've been sitting quiet.
Started last week. He's been patiently waiting, as I did at one occasion. But
Yeah, I didn't see him run out of the door, so that's a good sign.
It's a great
So,
sign.
welcome. But yeah, just
Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Pearson. As Eric mentioned, I'm a newly appointed assistant town manager for the town of Rolesville. Been a resident of North Carolina for the past 16 years. Spent about 22 years at IBM, retired about a year and a half ago, took some time off, and have done a lot with, I led IBM's philanthropic efforts across the United States over that time. Been based here out of Research Triangle Park. Did a lot with government at the federal, state, and local levels, how to make cities smarter, just using IBM's technology, and then, of course, its treasure, its resources as well. Have always had an interest working in local government. I've done a lot with county and city managers, also with CIOs, and then also working with, from a community standpoint, local law enforcement as well throughout the state of North Carolina and then nationally as well. So I'm excited about what the town of Rolesville is doing just in terms of its progressiveness and its opportunity for growth. And then also just his leadership team as well. So I was excited through the interview process and then also to come on board. I came on board last week as well, so doing a lot of learning, looking forward to working with you all in a variety of ways, and then of course supporting Eric and his leadership team as they roll out his strategic plan as well. So excited to meet you all. This meeting has been very informative. I didn't swear in as far as the oath, but I did have a lot of questions, but I'll reserve those for a future time.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Awesome, appreciate you guys.
Can't wait to talk to you more about smart cities.
Yeah, if you get down to town hall, look him up, have a kind of discussion with them. He's had a lot of things. He's talked about risk management. He's had a lot of experience in risk management and stuff like that. So big access to towns. So thank you.
yeah, so naturally, we're super excited to have Stephen on board. Leadership team is excited as well to have his brain and capacity add to the team. I have no doubt to be an asset. I'm a little nasally, so forgive my voice. Other updates, Millbridge Amphitheater, that'll be coming before you on the upcoming work session. And so June and his team are preparing to have that come before you. It'll likely come forward on the consent agenda. What I wanted to just point out is that we do have a timeline we're trying to meet on that one. We finished all of the environmental inspections for it. Environmental inspections, more specifically because there's grant money attached to it. And so we have some accessibility grant money that are going towards that. And so that'll position us. Everything's going on time, is on track in order for that project to start. And the hope is for that project to be concluded in advance of what will be our second annual Juneteenth celebration this summer. And it'll take place in the newly updated Millbridge Park Amphitheater. And the other thing I want to do was give you some kind of key updates on the Main Street project. We know that it's something that a lot of people have been waiting on as well. We'll start seeing installation of storm drainage along the northern part of the intersection of William Street. That runs concurrently with what is the remaining approvals that need to happen with the water line work that'll be going on at the intersection. And so we anticipate that storm drain work to start this week, and it'll be running for the next 2 weeks. With regards to the water line work, I worked with Raleigh Water over the last month and a half to continue to refine our approach to do the replacement of the infrastructure, where they agreed to a pathway that will allow us to kind of shave off maybe 3 or 4 weeks of that anticipated amount of time by leaving some of that to be done after the intersection is open. And so essentially, to say it in the most streamlined way, is to the road surface that's open right now, replace the water line infrastructure that's there, and then focus on the other infrastructure, water lines that will be replaced, and do it under lane closure on that Eastern Young side. But because it's such a wide space, it won't impede traffic flow. And so the goal is to, number one, just get the intersection open as soon as possible. And so in sum, that's the pathway that we worked out with that. We're still waiting for some of the pricing for the materials to land, to be concluded. And so that and the procurement are the two things that we're working on. But everything, as we gave an update in October, is still aligned with that. Hope to start that water line work in the next 3 weeks, late January, going into the spring. And so we still are confident that we'll be able to get it done early spring. With regards to the fuel tank, which was a thing that was brought up, inspections did show that there was not the prior fuel tanks that were there were removed. What was left there was a remnant of a pre-existing fuel tank. And so we're waiting to get testing back on that soil that's around it. And NCDEQ will hopefully within the next week, finalize their review of the test results and let us know what remediation needs to be performed. And so that will be, do we remove all the dirt, replace it, or do we seal it in the same way that we sealed the soil that we found, the contaminated soil underneath the parking lot? And so they'll give us determination on that one sooner than later. And then one thing that I believe that Commissioner Michael Paul and the mayor have been privy to around sewer line work in the signal at Cobblestone, Walbrook. We were able to work with Raleigh Water to help us rearrange some of the work we're doing with the sewer line to make it to where we should be on track to install the signal. And so there's a mast arm. If you notice up here, there's 4 mast arms. There's 3 mast arms at a signal, but there's a 4th that was waiting for a sewer line relocation. And so we worked with Raleigh Water to come up with a plan to install that, shift that sewer line later to allow the prioritization of the installation of the signal, so that we don't impede the progress of the Publix and Walbrook development that's happening on the south end, on South Main Street. And so those are the major updates, kind of rapid fire updates for that. We'll be sending out a more kind of detailed, exhaustive thing within our news blast. So we're encouraging everyone in the community to subscribe to the news blast. We've proactively included all of the residents who have a profile or engage the town through Parks and Recreation and all other outlets on the news blast. So please stay subscribed and reach out to us if you have any questions with regards to that. But barring any weather events, which we'll have some weather coming up this week, progress should continue to ramp up since now that we're through the holiday and back on track. And so if anyone in the community has any questions, feel free to reach out. We are continuing to work to bring, get the work done up there at the intersection, as well as the project as a whole. So those are the updates on that. Feel free to let me know if y'all have any questions. I'll try to answer them now or take them back to the project team and get them back to you.
So one request, and I know it's probably already been thought of, but just want to put it out there, just for a record. When we do this, the sewage line relocation and the water line revised plan, that we think about aesthetics as well, just so we don't have a patched up road once we've done this whole $1 million job.
Right, so the sewer line is off,
Okay,
it's outside of the road surface.
okay.
It's actually underneath the multi-use path that has not been installed yet
Okay.
on that length of the road. But yes, sir.
So then, and then the water line, I mean, we'll wait for final lift or something.
Yes, and
Okay.
so essentially we're swapping it. They'll do the replacement of that other part that we're waiting to do last, and they'll complete it before the final lift of asphalt goes in. But our plan is to also, in addition to the Main Street project, we'll have our regular resurfacing that'll be happening. And so we'll be tying in the resurfacing of the William Street, Perry Street, and Pulley,
Okay.
Williams, Perry, Pulley, and all those as well. So there'll be resurfacing going on through, not just through the Main Street, Main and Young intersection, but also those side streets that have been impacted through the local detours.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions, thoughts? Just a couple of things. We do have a legislative brunch planned. I think that's for January the 17th. Most everybody, I think, has RSVP, but if you haven't, I would love for all the commissioners to be there if possible. So take a look at that. That's just January 17th, which is
Next Friday.
yeah, it's not far away. And I think everybody's coming, I think, so.
Yeah, I think we have 16.
Deborah Ross down, I believe.
I think 18 confirmed attendees from our legislative representatives up. Yes.
And some of these are new people we haven't never met before, so it's an
That's correct.
opportunity to meet them. So I think that's pretty good. Thank you for organizing that, you and the staff. I know Candace and also Christina's done a lot of work on that, so thank y'all for that. The other thing, we haven't decided yet, but we're still going to probably have a retreat of some type in the next few months. So
Yes. So the budget retreat that's you're referring to, yeah, that'll be the second. That'll be the work session in February, and so the second meeting in February, that'll take place like we've done in the past years, where we'll start about lunchtime and then go to our normal time. If y'all remember. And so that's what it'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the holiday retreat.
Third Tuesday,
So
budget retreat.
so we'll have that here.
Yes.
Are we planning anything, like at
So
Wake
you-
Forest or anything?
So when we talked about it, that's what I was thinking, but we were thinking of doing it the same way we did last year,
Okay.
which was that.
Okay.
Now that Stephen's here, we've been thinking about our strategic plan as well. And so we might do something concurrently with that, but the main thing right now will be the budget retreat, but that'll be in that. We plan on doing that here out of convenience, since that worked well last year.
And you said that's at the second meeting in February?
Second meeting in February,
So make sure you put that, we plan on starting at noon? Is that what you're saying?
midday, yes, sir.
Make sure you mark that out.
We'll get you more details about that. We have our budget kickoff. We had a kickoff this morning, and we meet again on Tuesday. And so at that which point we'll have more concrete times for you all.
Got you. Well, good. Thank you. Christine, you got anything you want to add?
Yes, I'll add something briefly concerning the monthly liaison report schedule by our commissioners. If they would consider changing the schedule to instead become an alternate, the commissioners would be every other month to reflect how our directors here with the town staff handles their monthly reports. We alternate our directors to also do the same thing with our commissioners. And
Yeah,
I'll put together a schedule and present it for the next meeting for you to look at.
Yeah, and I think y'all nod and y'all's okay with that. But if it's any commissioner that really feels that you need to do a report every month, just let us know. Because, some of you might, some of you may have enough you want to do something every month, but just let us know. And, but yeah, that's great.
Thank you for doing that, Christina.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? That's it? Anything from the board? I got one last thing that I'll mention. Is the mayor show, podcast is coming up Thursday. Our football team did really well. High school football team, they actually went to the state championship, played in Chapel Hill. They were very competitive and stuff. They didn't win. It was an extremely good team that they was playing, but they had a really good showing. Had a really good year, and we planned on doing a little something for them in February. So we hope to reach out. I think the coach has agreed already, so we need to finalize that. But I think we're going to have the team in here first meeting in February to kind of recognize them for that. As for the show, we're going to have AD Jacob Gross on the show, podcast show, Thursday night. He is athletic director at Rolesville, new. He just started a year. He was the baseball coach for many years. So we're going to be talking about the sports going on out there. I think they do really good. There's a lot of things that we don't hear about that they're very successful in. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. And then Tim Stahl will be on. Tim is a trades instructor that's been there ever since the year after it opened. So he's been there about 10 years. And trade is I really think trade is the thing that, we kind of lost focus on trade. Everybody need to go to college and get your college degree and to be successful. But I think trade is really, I think that we're going to need in the future is have people that can do that kind of work. And he's got a good program. He's got 3 instructors now with himself. They have a apprentice program that he's going to talk about. I didn't realize that, but he works with the students after graduation to find them a place to work in their trade, and they start at $18 an hour right out of high school, with guaranteed raises for the next 5 years to get them to at least $35,000 in 5 years, which pretty good coming out of high school if you don't go to, tech school, anything, just a high school degree. Pretty good program. So we'll talk about that. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from him and what they got going on out there. So you guys listen in on that if you would. This will be the last podcast show. So after about 2 years and a half of doing podcast show, this is actually the last one. Starting in February, we plan to do more production type show with Candace involved, with East Wake TV, Matt back there. Matt's will be between those two. They'll be producing it, and it's more of a podcast with, it won't be live, but it'll be more like a video type thing, and it'll be on East Wake TV. And the first show in February will be for Black History Month, and we'll be focusing on Jonesville, history of Jonesville, and we'll be focusing on New Bethel Church. So that's something new, we're giving it a try. I think I'm gonna miss the podcast, but, this production show, I think is kind of what we're kind of looking for. So, so with that, any last comments from the board?
If you could probably share about this more, but the women's basketball team on Friday will have a televised game. They'll be playing, our Lady Rams. They are defending state champions for but they'll be playing the Wakefield Wolverines this Friday night at 7:45 p.m. They've done something that's very interesting, and that is they've swapped times with the varsity boys. So they'll be playing the late game so that it can be televised. And so we're thinking that that's going to be a very, very great matchup. Myself and June Green, the Parks and Recreation Director, are chomping at the bit to be able to be able to go out there and go and support. And so just want to let you all know that I'm cannot remember what the local channel is that will be broadcast on, but it is a big deal. So
I can't remember. It's something like WDNC or something like that. One of those.
CW.
W what?
CW.
Yeah, it may be what it is. But they play Wakefield. Wakefield has a pretty good team. Wakefield won the conference last year. They beat Rolesville in the conference championship, and then Rolesville went on to win the rest of the way out for the state championship. I think Wakefield lost to a team in Charlotte. But should be a good game. I think this will be a tester, see if they can do a repeat of last year. They've beaten everybody who played in North Carolina. Now they've gone to some tournaments in Washington, D.C. and played teams, these private school teams from New York and stuff, and lost to some of those. But that just makes your sword sharper by playing somebody like that, So appreciate you bringing that up. I don't know if I'm going to be in town to make it Friday night. I would love to, but if you guys if you haven't seen them play, it's really good to get out there and see them. That would be, really fantastic. So thank you for bringing that up. Anything else? All right. Without any opposition, I'm adjourning the meeting. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.